Ohio archery season is almost here. Let's build some arrows. It is mid-August, which means that all of your equipment should already be dialed in by now. Everything from your sight all the way to your broadhead to your shooting form. So I've got all of those things done except for the broadhead testing, which I'm going to broadhead test probably next week. I did a little broadhead test at 20 yards and the broadhead hit exactly where my field point did. So that is very, very good news, and that means that my bow is in tune. I just need to get that out to a further distance, probably around 60 yards. There's never going to be a shot in Ohio where I'm going to have to take it at more than 60 yards. It's just not going to happen. I hunt mostly from tree stand, so it's probably going to be 30 yards or less, if not shorter. But it's a good thing to have your broadhead hitting exactly the same place as your field point up 60 yards so that you know at 20 it is hitting the exact same place. That being said, I've lost a lot of arrows this year because of I Robin Hooded one last week, and it was the most amazing thing like I've ever seen, because it went exactly down the center of the shaft and just splintered it out. And I've broken arrows before, but never like having one completely inside another arrow like up to this point. So I mean, that was pretty cool. It's also pretty not cool because it's probably a $15 arrow. So I'm glad that I have extras, and that's why I'm going to make some more. The arrows that I use for hunting are the 5mm Axis Pro match grade. This is a 300 spine, which I have a Defiant turbo. These shoot extraordinarily well out of that bow. This is pretty much the only arrow I want to shoot right now. I don't have a competition bow. I've thought about getting into competition, but I'm good with just shooting my turbo on a daily basis. It's treated me very, very well. There are probably better bows out there, more advanced bows as technology and time has gone on, but I shoot very well with my turbo, and it's been very good to me. So these Easton Axis 5mm 300 spined arrows have been phenomenal, and that's what I'm going to use this season. And so we're going to build some more of them right now. This morning I'm going to epoxy the inserts that are brass inside of the shafts that have yet to be built, and then I'm going to wait 24 hours for the epoxy to dry. I'm going to come back and then build the rest of the arrow, including the fletchings, the wrap, and the nocks, and then we should be ready to go. But I just wanted to do this arrow building video because this is very, very fascinating stuff to me. It's a way to make your arrows more precise, get everything exactly the same, and just have complete control over the final product. Let's do this. This is going to be fun. So I'll show you all the equipment that I'm going to use and all the components. Obviously I've got the 300 spine 5mm shaft that I'm going to use, as well as these brass hit inserts that you can either have, and you can break it down to where if you use the whole thing, it's 75 grains. If you snap the end off, it's going to be 50 grains of brass, and I will snap this off and use 50 grains as the insert, and that'll be the insert weight. We've got our little tool that will allow us to index the inserts up inside of the shaft to the exact same place every single time. And then I use Bohning Blazer 2-inch vanes, and then a Bohning wrap. I've actually cut these wraps in half to cut down on the weight a little bit. And then I have the Bohning Helix tower fletching jig, and it's going to be a 3-degree helical. I'm just going to use the standard Easton HIT epoxy 24 hours, so this will take 24 hours to dry, which is why I'm going to come back tomorrow morning after I have let these dry to do the rest of the arrow. And these are going to have to lay flat for 24 hours in order to dry, and for the brass inserts not to move around in the shaft. So just a basic recap of what I just did. What I was doing with the sandpaper was scratching up the inside of the shaft where the brass is going to go and where it's going to get epoxied in, because from my other projects that I've done with epoxy, I know that epoxy bonds better to rough surfaces, rough scratched up surfaces where there's lots of like little places for that epoxy to get into and seep into and hold. It bonds better to rough surfaces than it does to smooth surfaces. That's basically all I did with the sandpaper, where I stuck it up in there, spun it around, scratched it up a little bit. You're not taking a whole lot of material off, you're just scratching it up so you can get that nice clean bond to the inside of the shaft where it's going to bond to the brass. And then I just took a Q-tip with some acetone and cleaned out the inside. And then I took this little stone that they give you in the packet, and I cleaned up the front of the arrow where it was cut by the cutter, so that it's a nice flat and flush surface for the broadhead to butt up against. So that's basically what I've done to this point. I've let the acetone dry a little bit, and now I'm gonna get the epoxy ready. So this is 24-hour epoxy, I believe. Yeah. After gluing insert, allow 24 hours to cure before use. So this is 24-hour epoxy, so I'm not going to have the frantic, I need to get this in here before it hardens in 20 seconds. So it allows you to take your time and to really concentrate on what you're doing. The downside is you are going to have to wait at least 24 hours before you do anything with these. So another downside is that you have to keep these on a flat surface, or this brass insert will move inside of the shaft to a place where you can't get it to, or it throws off the balance of the arrow and makes everything different. This is a flat surface. I've checked it with a level, so once I get these brass inserts in there, they're not going to move anywhere, and I just have to let them sit here for 24 hours. Then I can feel free to put vanes on them, do whatever I want to them, and then just go ahead and shoot them. I'm gonna get this epoxy ready to go, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just glue these brass inserts inside of the arrow shafts. Alright, that was easy enough. Step I didn't explain real quick was I took all the Nocks out. When you start putting these inserts in, it sort of creates a vacuum in the entire shaft. If you've got something that is airtight and you're decreasing the amount of space, it's going to create pressure in there. And if you leave it over time, it might cause that insert to pop back up a little bit, maybe even pop out of the end of the arrow shaft. So that's why I took the Nocks out, so that any pressure that's caused by putting the insert in will just come right out the other end, and you won't have that vacuum effect. These are going to have to lay flat for at least 24 hours, which means tomorrow morning I'll come in and be able to finish the arrows, and then give you a rundown on all of the components that I use and stuff like that. So this little tool is pretty vital. It allows you to index each individual insert to the same spot every single time, as long as you keep them on a flat surface and don't bump them, and the inserts should stay where they are and bond with the epoxy in those little rings around the brass. Keep it in there nice and tight. Hopefully these stay where they are. I'm counting on it, so I'll come back in tomorrow and check on the progress. Hopefully we'll have 7 arrows. Yeah, 7? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 7 new arrows to go ahead and put veins on and get ready for hunting season. It's closer than you think.